Split Fiction, the most insane, woke, do not buy game ever. Or is it? I haven't played it, but as far as I can tell, Split Fiction just is your average normal game. The female design is not super hot, but it doesn't exactly inspire wokeness in my mind. And the dialogue is not super pot, it's kind of basic and cringy, but again, doesn't seem exactly woke. So there are a lot of people who are currently calling Split Fiction like woke or whatnot. I have not seen it, but what I have seen is that people like Endymion are calling it woke, and Endymion is grifter loser fat fuck. Okay? He I'm not even sure there's anything that guy would ever not lie about just to get money and recognition if it's landing on the right side of whatever the hell he's doing. And there was another account on Twitter that doesn't even have a YouTube, but it just literally calls every single game released woke. The grift. The grift is real sometimes, boys. So I don't know. Doesn't seem like Split Fiction is woke. It seems like it doesn't have microtransactions. At least that's what I heard. And now it's putting EA in its place, and EA deserves a lot of Minecrafting on the way out, if you know what I'm saying.
I gotta say, I love this trend of executives proving themselves wrong because it highlights just how stupid executives are and how undeserving they are of the paycheck that they get and the...
Yes, Young, communism good. When game fails, blame executives. When game succeeds, it was the people, and the people should deserve a split of the profits. But the people do not deserve a split of the losses. I wish I could be as autistic as Young. Life would be so much easier. Nothing would be complicated. Everything would be just communism good, everything else bad. My god. I would be a Yakuza, what's it called? A voice actor. It would be great, you know? People would comment how I ruined the role and I'm not a real voice actor, and I would say, but I am. Fuck you. It would be great.
Position that they hold, given the short-term thinking that leads to long-term ruin for beloved developers and studios and IPs and whatnot. Today I want to talk about EA.
Beloved developers that make shitty games and ask for recognition.
And their insinuation that the reason Dragon Age the Veilguard failed was because it was a live service. And a recent EA published title that came out that completely blew that argument out of the water, that completely destroyed their own argument. So for those who don't know, Dragon Age the Veilguard, it engaged approximately 1.5 million players during the quarter, which is nearly 50% less than what EA was expecting.
Also, just to remind everyone, engaged 1.5 million players is not the same as 1.5 million sales were made. I currently don't think they have more than 1.2 million sales. And that is the best case scenario. Okay? Because 1/3 of these are free players on different platforms. Dragon Age Veilguard has already been given out to people for free, and it has been on discounts.
And they're wondering what the heck went wrong with this game. Well, the suggestion that they made, Andrew Wilson, this is what he said during a financial meeting, is that games need to directly connect to the evolving demand of players who increasingly seek shared world features and deeper engagement alongside high-quality narratives in this beloved category. Dragon Age had a high-quality launch and was well-received by critics and those who played. However, it did not resonate with a broad enough audience in this highly competitive market. This argument is so moronic not only because EA's own live service ventures have failed, like Anthem, which was BioWare's own live service that completely flopped, and so it goes to highlight whether a game is live service or not.
Thumbs up, boys, for Mass Effect 5. It's gonna be, I mean, listen. If you make a middle-aged fantasy setting about cutting peepees off and establishing trans identities in the Middle Ages with magic, Then imagine how goddamn far you can go in the future where technology actually allows different things to happen, okay? Mass Effect 5 is probably one of the most dead games in the upcoming years.
That doesn't make a difference in
No, there's a lot of things that don't have a chance currently, but Mass Effect 5 has never moved from the zero chance of success point.
terms of its success or failure. It's more about the quality of the game and the word of mouth that spread surrounding it. There's also the fact that just live services have been dying left and right, from multiverses to X Defiant. As far as Ubisoft is concerned, Skull and Bones isn't doing particularly well. You've got Sony canceling a bunch of
Skull and Bones potentially could have maybe 200 active players. Maybe.
live services, especially after the release of Concord, because they realized that, live services are an expensive and risky venture where there's no guarantee of success. Beyond that, you've got developers who are pretty just pissed off and or scoffing at this notion.
Look, I'm not a fancy CEO guy, but if someone said to me the key to this successful single player IP success is in to make it purely a multiplayer game. No, not a single blah blah blah. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows this guy's just getting a little bit of that easy validation. I mean, look at this Blue Sky Social.
That Dragon Age to Veilguard failed because it wasn't a live service. So former BioWare developers spoke out against EA's moronic statement. But also speaking out was EA Originals' Joseph Ferris. He runs a studio called Hazelight Studios, and many of Hazelight's recent games were published by EA, specifically under EA's EA Originals program. And he kind of spoke out, and I've talked about this before, where he said that he himself and Hazelight as a studio will never be a live service game studio, and live service will never be his choice, scoffing at the notion that the reason Dragon Age the Veilguard failed was because it wasn't a live service, stating that Hazelight is proof, living proof that when you trust in your...
Yeah, you see, this is the design of It Takes Two. It's not a supermodel, but there's not exactly anything woke about this either. This is a typical normal person.
Your vision and go with it, you can still reach a big audience. That's what I want people to focus on, which I think is very well put. I've always loved how outspoken Joseph Ferris is against EA's own dumb quotes and their dumb ideas and notions, despite him being published by EA. And the thing is, he knows.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. I honestly want to talk more about Split Fiction in this case, but whatever. Look at this screen, okay? Look at this. This is Split Fiction. I don't know where people are getting the idea of woke from, but this is... I mean, I'm sorry, what exactly is supposed to be woke about this design or whatever shit? The dialogue is pretty cringy, I'll give you that from what I have seen, but... Everything's fine. It's just not the best. It's kind of your average cringy sloppish stuff. But it's a platform. Platformers don't care about none of that. It's a platformer.
Knows that he's in this position where he puts to action what he says. He did so recently with the launch of Split Fiction, which was met with universal acclaim, sitting at 91% from 89 critic reviews. Many are calling it a strong Game of the Year contender. Some are saying it's one of their favorite games of all time. Me personally, I finished Split Fiction like 2 days ago.
Man, I actually don't get it. Well, I actually do get it. People can like different things, but one of the things I never liked is these games that have this gimmick of every level being slightly different. I just can't. It's just not my thing. I can't. I will never like that.
Ago, and it is...
So that's a big problem for things like Nier Automata for me, for example.
It's one of the most imaginative games and one of the most just like incredible co-op experiences I've ever had the pleasure of playing in my time playing video games. This is a game that continuously reimagines itself, and some of the mechanics that they implement, the variety of genres that they kind of feature across the board, And I mean, like the final level in particular, and the utterly mind-bending stuff that they did with the visuals and the mechanics, and like I don't want to spoil the final level, but it was just so mind-blowing what they did there that like Split Fiction really pushes the boundaries of creativity in a way that I've rarely seen video games do. Split Fiction, in my opinion, is a masterpiece, and this is something that a lot of critics are
Oh, he's glazing it a lot. I don't know about masterpiece.
recognizing. And then beyond that, if you go to Steam right now, the user score is sitting at an overwhelmingly positive score of 98%.
That is
from
a
over
lot.
11,000 user reviews. Now, the sheer number of user
Now, to be fair, considering what Split Fiction is, I honestly did not expect that a game like this can be that successful. Now, keep in mind, I do think all a genre of games can be successful, but Split Fiction just kind of came out of fucking nowhere. I heard about Split Fiction only when it launched. Only pretty much when it just was critically acclaimed as a Steam success. I had no idea what this game is before that point. I'm kind of surprised that a game like this is actually that successful. I wasn't surprised that Multiverse is being successful. I wasn't surprised that things like Baldur's Gate the Gate 3 being successful. Well, you know, a lot of things like that, because if you make a good game, people will play it. But the fact that Multiverse is a basic platform-esque style of game is this successful is kind of wild in my opinion. This is one of the things I didn't expect can become this big.
reviews on display here already highlights just how well this game is
I wonder how many women actually play this.
selling. And beyond that, if you look at Steam charts, you will find that Split Fiction is peaking consistently in the 200,000s. Let me actually refresh this to see how the game is doing today. There we go.
Yeah, one of the things that I understand about this is the peaks are insane. There is I don't know what is this like mainly China playing this? One of the things that I instantaneously find strange about this graph is that the peaks are literally this ginormous and then the lows are this high. Usually it's not that bad. Usually a peak for a game when it comes out is roughly a 50% drop. But this is like a 66% drop almost, which is insane.
So look at this. Look at it peaking at 197,000 starting out, and then it peaked to new heights at 254,000, and then to new heights at 259,000.
Yeah, that's Saturday, Sunday.
And it's bringing back.
And the fact that it's Monday is this high also is kind of like insane. But yeah, this is one of the stranger graphs that you can find on Steam, honestly.
Players fairly consistently. The last 24-hour peak here is 239.
I'm not saying it's fake. I don't think this is botted or anything like that. Typically, botting in any game is a complete shrinkage between this peak and this low. The smaller the difference between the peak and low is, the more bots there are in a game. And again, there's no point to bot a game like this in the first place, right? So, yeah, I just think that it's kind of wild how this graph looks. It's very unique considering Steam.
9,000. So what this suggests is that Split Fiction is a game that has already gone on to sell millions upon millions of copies, and the feedback on social.
Yeah, this bad boy could potentially have sold maybe close to 3.5 million copies. Why am I saying this, considering usually I say just add a 0? Because then there's the 50% minus or plus that you can apply. And when it comes to shitty Vogue games, you usually use the negative 50% because it's just a bunch of super fans playing the game, right? But this one is, a lot of people are hearing that this is amazing, that this is really good, and so they're buying it, and chances are they're not playing it instantaneously. I think we could easily have a situation where something like 500,000 people have just bought this and not actually logged in yet.
Social media has been incredibly positive. Word of mouth is spreading. And what's important to highlight is that Split Fiction is not a live service game. And when we compare its numbers to something like Dragon Age the Veilguard, you'll see that Split Fiction is blowing Dragon Age the Veilguard out of the water, bringing in roughly 3 times more players than Dragon Age the Veilguard did at its peak of 89,418 players, which is significant.
Damn, look at Young calling Dragon Age Veilguard his favorite game bad. Damn.
Significant, but it did highlight that the game maybe didn't sell quite as well as it could have. And EA confirmed this when they said that only 1.5 million players engaged with the title. Engaged meaning that it's a combination of both people who purchased the game outright and people who tried out the free trial. And so the actual sales might be even worse than what EA's trying to suggest.
Oh yeah, there was a free trial that literally no one cared about, by the way.
Here by
because with Dragon Age Railgun, the free trial was, oh, look at that game, it's so good. We're gonna give people the chance to create a character, and then they're gonna want to play our slop, which never happened. Obviously, the character creation is shit, so no one actually used the free thing and got into the game. It's like this, Dragon Age Railgun potentially being free maybe got like 2 people into this game.
Kind of sneakily saying 1.5 million players engaged to make the figures look a little better. And so this is right here, Exhibit A of just how wrong EA is. Split Fiction is not this share world experience. It is a multiplayer game in that it is cooperative and there are online features. But that is not what made this game the success that it is. It is the inventiveness. It is the way Joseph Fares, through his idealism, has managed to craft something that genuinely pushes the boundaries of co-op gameplay of this entire genre.
I'm pretty sure Young used the word idealism wrongly there.
And he already kind of set the groundwork for that with It Takes Two, which was also...
What's the fucking deal with so many people just using big words without being correct? I completely photosynthesis don't understand this.
So incredibly inventive and imaginative to the point that it actually won Game of the Year, and it managed to sell 23 million copies. Split Fiction is already doing better numbers when it comes to all-time peak concurrent players on Steam at launch than It Takes Two did. So over the long term, I would imagine that Split Fiction can reach similar numbers to It Takes Two, possibly surpass it, given the critical reception surrounding it. And it's worth noting that Split Fiction actually scored better than It Takes Two did on Metacritic. It Takes Two scored 88 from 50 critic reviews and won Game of the Year. So imagine Split Fiction with currently its score of 91% from 89 critic reviews, just how good of a chance it has to potentially win.
Game of the Year probably is going to be won by some kind of Elden Ring DLC. Well, it's true, probably. Anyway, is that it, Young? Is that it? That's it? I wanted to actually see the video on Twitter where I think I saw it, but I kind of didn't pay attention to it. It was just on the second monitor when I clicked on it and I was doing something else. But the Split Fiction CEO came out and he fucking started like some kind of anti-Vokriant or Vokriant. I can't even understand, but it was wild. So I completely don't understand the ideological battleground that is permeating through the concept of Split Fiction as a game. It's just there. I don't see a reason for it to be there, honestly. But hey, that's fine. Anyway, that was Younger a Yayer. Young out! Whoa! Young out!
Young out.
Yeah, beautiful. Bye!